everyone, and welcome back to Conway's Corner. Today we are going to be going over my Warlock build for 1.0. Now, I don't know how good this is actually going to be, but I love to play auto cast builds. I love one-button builds, and even more than that, I love zero-button builds. Unfortunately, there's no real way to get a zero-button build out of Warlock from what I could see, although I'm sure that people who are much better than me are going to be coming up with some crazy one or even potentially zero-button builds for the Warlock. Now, up until the Falconer's release, this was what I was planning on playing, until I saw some of the really fun and interesting things in Falconer, and I plan on playing an incredibly jank build, which I will be going over in the next video. But let's get into this Warlock video. This is going to be my build for Warlock. This build is not going to be a build to push high corruption. This is going to be a low corruption, like monolith farming build for me. As you can see, this is a Mad Alchemist's Ladle build, Warlock being probably the best class we have ever seen to be able to take advantage of Mad Alchemist's Ladle, as we have a ton of access to a bunch of different ailments that no other class has access to. Now, I haven't really done anything in the passive trees. I don't really have any plans. I threw enough points in to let me have access to everything. The notable things in the passive tree, though, for this build are going to be Forbidden Knowledge for the necrotic resistance, as well as Unnatural Preservation for the necrotic resistance. And I will explain why the necrotic resistance is so important in just a moment. Warlock, as a mastery, also gets plus 35% necrotic and fire resistance, which is also going to be great for making the campaign a breeze, as a lot of the second act, the Imperial era, has a bunch of necrotic damage, and then the first half of the Divine era has got a lot of fire damage, so just having some extra resistances baked into the class at default is great. It's also going to make doing like monoliths and stuff a lot easier. It's going to make capping your resistances a lot easier. But we really wanted the necrotic resistance because of Chthonic fissure. We'll go into Chthonic fissure first. I am going to be building it like this. Now, unfortunately, we won't have enough points for acid skin unless we get enough pieces of gear that give us plus ranks to fissure to get us over to acid skin. We would really like to have acid skin, as this is another ailment, and it's also going to get us more consistent crits, although this isn't going to be a heavy crit build, as this is primarily going to be a dot and ailment focused build. So we wanted to first get Chaotic Rupture. Chaotic Rupture is going to replace some of the spirits that come out of the fissure with Chaos Bolts, which is going to be great for reasons I will explain in a couple of minutes here. Obviously, we want to increase our spirit frequency. The more spirits we get out, the more Chaos Bolts we get out, and the spirits will also apply Torment, so there is one status effect there. They also have a chance to Ignite, which we have other places to get Ignite in the build, but extra Ignite, always really nice. Then we're going to go down here. Obviously, Spirit Gale increases the rate of tormenting that we are going to have. As tormented enemies die, we get a coin flip to have them release the spirit and then infect another enemy within 8 meters. So this is a great way to help spread the torment. Moving down, having the spirits not only inflict torment, but also damned is great. Damned is going to be another ailment for Mad Alchemist's Ladle to eat, as well as being another dot. I do want to say that I did some calculations. We have access in the build to 13 different ailments, which at 8%, is it more or increased damage on Ladle? 8% more damage per ailment. That is 104% more damage. Next up, though, is Twisted Waves. Twisted Waves is why we wanted to get all that necrotic resistance. It makes Torment, which is a dot, deal more damage per 2% uncapped necrotic resistance. So going over the cap is great. This means that we are getting 3% more damage for every 2% more, or 2% necrotic resistance we have. So currently we are sitting at 97, which is, what, divide that by 2, we're looking at 47, 47%, and then 47 times 3, whatever the math is. That's more math than I'm willing to do. I was an electrician, not a mathematician, so I don't care. Up next, Grim Tide. More necrotic resistance for crit multiplier. This is another reason why, the Acid Skin and Grim Tide seems like it'll go really nice together, as we're going to get more crits. And if we're critting a lot more, we're going to want to increase our crit multiplier, which is then going to increase Chthonic Fissure. Next up, though, let's go to Chaos Bolts. So Chaos Bolts is really where our auto casting comes in. Now, Chthonic Fissure is going to auto cast Chaos Bolts for us, and Chaos Bolts down here is going to auto cast Rip Blood and Bone Curse for us. I toyed around with the idea of also running Harvest, but I don't think I want to go into Dex. I think I just want to int stack. So Rip Blood is going to be the play. If you are split stacking, though, I could see maybe lowering our Ignite chance, or just taking 1 point out of Doom's Vindication to go for Reaper of Mayhem, and then I would probably despec Spirit Plague for Harvest. But as it stands right now, we are going to be getting Ignite and Bleed off of our Chaos Bolts. And with both the Chaos Bolts, Bone Curse, and Rip Blood all giving us some bleed synergy, we could run like Valdir's Chalice and Salt the Wound for some extra bleed power, but I don't think it's very necessary. We did take Exalt and Misery. We took the 4 points here, as we can apply 3 of the 4 status effects on base, although we can get access to Frostbitten through some uniques or through some good luck rolls on other pieces of gear, which would give us a total of 48% more damage on top of the 104% more damage. But Damned is going to get converted to Bleed, so our Chaos Bolts are going to Ignite and Bleed. It'll proc Bone Curse every 6 seconds, and we'll have a chance to auto cast Rip Blood on hit. The other good node here for us is going to be Cursed Blood. This is going to refresh the duration of our curses and give us some health back. Now, the getting health back is not going to be as important, but this means specifically for bossing, our Chaos Bolts are going to do great at keeping up Bone Curse, Spirit Plague, and Torment. Moving on, though, we'll go ahead and look at our Bone Curse tree. Now, our Bone Curse tree is somewhat standard. We, of course, want to go for the Bone Armor, as Bone Armor is great. Just give us more armor. That's phenomenal. I went ahead and went for more bleed chance here, specifically for Crimson Enlightenment, so that if our Bone Curse ever does fall off, we can cast Rip Blood on them for free. So another piece of auto casting. I went ahead and put 1 point into Cursed Ground to just help spread Bone Curse even more. Next up, we went for the Execute, which isn't as important as getting Ruptured Corpse. The explosion chance is great. It's a very popular pickup for a node here. I also went ahead and got us Mark for Death, although I did not want to go into like Reaper's Mark or Misery here. But just picking up the Sigil of Mortality is great. That's another ailment. Mark for Death is a great pickup on most Acolyte builds. Next up is Rip Blood. We want to go for Splatter, of course, as Splatter is going to give us AoE on our Rip Blood. Gushing Wound to apply more bleed. The Arcane Absorption is nice, just increase the spell damage, which is going to help out Chaos Bolts and Fissure, really, do more damage. Rip Blood dealing more damage is fine. We only took 4 points though because we wanted to get Blood Catalyst. Now Blood Catalyst makes it so that our Rip Blood will no longer heal us, but if Rip Blood kills an enemy, it'll automatically recast Rip Blood on another target, and this effect can repeat and chain. There are some builds out there that really take advantage and lean heavily into Blood Catalyst. This is just an extra bonus for us. If we didn't want to go this route, we could take these 5 points and shove them into like Crimson Flood. We could go for increasing our healing ability off of it, although I find the healing negligible, and as we are not relying on Rip Blood, I don't think that it is great to do this. It's not even on our hotbar, but that is a way you could build. We could also increase our cast speed and the spell damage. We could change it over to necrotic damage. But last but not least, we have Spirit Plague. Spirit Plague is kind of interchangeable here. Spirit Plague is going to give us access to 2 ailments in Spirit Plague and regular Plague. We could replace this with Harvest if we wanted to go the Harvest route. We could replace it with Profane Veil to apply Penance. But I wanted to go with Spirit Plague. I've always loved Spirit Plague. It's been a pet skill of mine. I have tried to take it into High Corruption and then cry because it's not great. But here I think that Warlock is really going to be able to make Spirit Plague the best it possibly can be. Now, we went with, obviously, our increased damage over time and Plague Bearer to give us access to Plague. The increased global damage over time means all of our other dots, which in the build are Ignite, Bleed, Torment, Damned, let's see here, Spirit Plague, Poison, and Plague, and Electrify. So 8 different dots. We're just going to increase the damage of those, which is phenomenal. Another 15% per stack. Although we are very rarely going to hit 13 stacks, enemies are going to die before we get up there. This is not going to be great for bossing, but for dealing with large amounts of mobs, if we're farming monoliths, this is going to go great for us. Next up, Plague. Obviously, we want another ailment. Plague is another nice ailment to have. It does not have a lot of places where you can really get Plague, so getting it here is really nice. Increasing the poison penetration with Plague, obviously just let Plague do a bit more damage. And Endless Decay is going to increase poison damage whenever we afflict an enemy with Spirit Plague. Now this is very similar to Pestilence, except it only applies to poison damage, which we have access to both regular poison and Plague in the build. So just increasing both of those damages is nice. Over here, we went ahead and increased our duration. And we went ahead and grabbed Plague of Eyes, since we're going to be intelligence stacking anyways to get access to Rip Blood off of our Chaos Bolts. It's a nice pickup, just have our Spirit Plague do more damage. So the way that this build is going to work is we are going to open with a Spirit Plague into a Chthonic Fissure, which is going to then spread the Plague. Chthonic Fissure is going to go off. We're going to have both our Chaos Bolts and our spirits going around. We're going to be infecting. We're going to be chaining Spirit Plague and the Torment to all enemies nearby. Chaos Bolts is going to be come shooting out of here. That's going to allow our Torment, our Bone Curse, and our Spirit Plague to stay up. We are running Profane Veil on the bar, unskilled, like unspecialized, simply because it is going to give us some nice like dodge utility. It's not, because we're not spec'd into it, we are not going to be getting it as a traversal skill, but being able to just mitigate completely a lot of oh shit mechanics is great. It's going to allow us, I believe, to just not have to deal with Julra's mechanics if used at the right time with a lot of enemies, because it allows us to dodge every hit. It means that we are effectively invulnerable for 2 seconds outside of any dots that are on us. I could definitely see replacing Spirit Plague with Profane Veil, although we will lose one of our dots. We won't be able to get we won't be able to get regular Plague, and instead we'll get Penance off of Penitent Tangent. Once I play around with it, I'll know which one I prefer to use. But if I were to build this, I would go grab Penance, and then I would grab the cooldown reduction, I would grab the increased duration, I would get our armor, and then I would grab, I don't remember where the node is, but there is a node in here to have it cleanse on use, which will be phenomenal. The cooldown reduction would be nice, but that is how I would theoretically build it if I were to build it. There it is. I'd grab Unholy Renewal to get rid of any dots that are on us and just have a nice defensive button. I think that through the campaign, Spirit Plague is probably going to be the preferred spec, but I could definitely see in monoliths wanting to switch over to Profane Veil. That would still actually keep us at a total of 13 for our ailments, which will synergize perfectly with Mad Alchemist's Ladle, giving us off of the Ladle, I believe it is, 5 different, I can count, 5 status effects, 2 of which are dots, and the other 3 are fine. Slow, Frailty, and Shred Armor are fine. We're not really going to be able to take full advantage of Frailty and Shred Armor. Slow is always nice, as it slows both movement and attack speed. So slow is a defensive ability. Frailty and Shred Armor, while, like I said, while nice, aren't going to be the best for us, or at least for this build. The increased cast speed is very nice since we're going to be int stacking, as well as the getting mana back on potion use. This is going to allow us to really be able to spam our fissure and our chaos bolts, and then just potion to get our mana back, keep everything up, and hopefully have enough damage output. That is going to be it for this video. Up next, I am going to be posting the build that I am going to be playing on 1.0's launch. Is it going to be a good build? Probably not, but it will be incredibly fun and goofy to play. We're going to be playing with skills that have long been lambasted because they're bad. It is an Acid Flask Falconer build that I am really looking forward to play because it just seems so goofy. But that is it for me, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that help me in the algorithm. Let me know your thoughts on the build, what you would change in the build, whether you're interested in playing this or not. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.